Okay. I think we're golden here. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. Make sure Spotify's coming through. Looks like it is. Microphone's coming through. What I want to do is fucking rearrange these goddamn things. I don't know quite how to do that. The audio mixer, just rearrange the order they show up in, but it might be SOL on that, which is fine. So today we are working on this video, this mini documentary kind of for BASE, the nonprofit I work with. We took a trip to DC at the end of July, about a month ago at this point. And I came along to document the trip. Thursday, September 19th. So I came along to document the trip and just show off, like, really the goal of it was to, sorry, I'm trying to minimize a bunch of things and stuff, but the goal was to just go along and just showcase the kids. Really, this was a youth trip. And we did a lot, saw all the general sites, went to the Capitol building, saw the White House, saw a few other significant landmarks that are there, the MLK Memorial, that kind of thing. We also went to the Museum of African American History. It's pretty new, I guess. It's only been around for a few years. To be honest, we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time there, and this is like what we did at the end of the day, and pretty much all my batteries died by the time we were finishing there, so I didn't really get to film a whole lot. And also it is a little weird filming inside of a museum. There's just, I don't know, it honestly wasn't too bad. I wasn't like using a huge film rig. That was a big thing to consider, but yeah, so we did a lot on this trip, and the reason I'm making this edit is to showcase. I mean, this is really something to be able to show funders and people who gave grants and funding of any kind to this nonprofit, and as it should be, I think, the case with doing any video work for nonprofits. Like, you really are trying to show them in the best light possible, show everything, every dollar that's being spent, show that it's being spent for a good reason and for a good cause. And you really just want to help be able to see those positive reactions and experiences that really make it worth it for the people doing the work and the recipients of that money. You really just want to show their true experience. So that was kind of the goal with this. It was supposed to be, of course, a fun trip for these kids, but it's also supposed to be somewhat educational. And so what I'm doing is putting together an edit that kind of showcases all of that, showcases the entire trip, everything they did. This will be the timeline I use for the main edit. We were there for 3 days total, so I have them kind of all the footage organized in these 3 folders, day 1, day 2, day 3 for the footage. And then I recorded on a DJI mic internally, because I didn't want to bother with connecting it to the camera and everything. I just recorded a bunch of audio files, so sometimes I just had people narrate things and I would film them. And then the other thing that we did was we filmed a bunch of interviews with I'll just show you on here, filmed a bunch of interview with all the kids that went on the trip, because their assignment before the trip was to pick a topic. Howard University was another place we went. So their assignment was to pick a topic, kind of do a little bit of research on it, and then just kind of like go. That way when we went to DC, they'd at least have like familiarized themselves a little bit with one of the topics, with one of the places we were going to go see. So I interviewed all of them one at a time and got kind of their thoughts on just traveling, going to DC, what they were excited for, that kind of thing. And you'll kind of see it's it's a little bit of a mixed bag of responses. I wasn't expecting to get anything super profound. These are teenagers at the end of the day, and I think they were all pretty stoked to be there. I don't think it was like a chore for them. But it's just you're just not going to get a huge amount of insight a lot of the time from teenage. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Girls more so. Girls are just tend to be a little bit more intelligent than boys early on. So there were some good moments overall, though. I think it was well done. And the reason we had all these interviews was, again, just to I didn't really want to have to do a ton of interviews like on the fly on the trip. I wanted it to be more like me just kind of capturing what was happening and not having to do a lot of commentary interviews, especially this setup I knew I was going to have. Like, I didn't want to have a shotgun on the microphone. I didn't want to have a gimbal and a tripod and all this stuff that, would really, I wanted to be as nimble as possible, because part of it too is I have to not only be recording video, but also taking pictures. So part of the thing you'll see for this trip is, well, we won't see in the editing, but one of the things that I can say for the trip is I made a point to get a very specific camera that, what in my opinion was the best of both worlds, as far as being able to take pictures and record video. So for this trip, I actually rented the Sony A7C R. The R series are the ones with just very high megapixel sensors. So the photos that came out of it were just incredible. A lot of really high resolution pictures, just really, I think, great quality stuff. And then, of course, the video capabilities of the new Sony mirrorless hybrid cameras are also just incredible. I mean, you can shoot 10-bit log footage. That's really, I think, all I need for this thing. I didn't want to carry around a big, film camera. I have my FX30 as well, but didn't really want to use it for something like this. I didn't want to have to build it out with a handle and all that stuff. Like, I just wanted something that could, and of course the FX30 doesn't really take that great of pictures. It's not really meant for that. So all that to say, I went with this camera. I'm pretty stoked with it. I was pretty stoked with the results. I got a good lens for it as well. And yeah, what you're seeing is just the result of just shooting this trip. So what I'm doing today is going through. What I've already done, I've created a timeline for all the different days. And so day one string outs. So string outs are basically just the best shots from that day. Bring this volume down for now so it's not super disorienting. So what I've done is I've just gone through and found all the good, like, usable footage, what I would say, for that day. And even if you probably notice some shaky parts in there, there's definitely some parts I wouldn't use. I'm playing it back at 2x speed right now. But these are all the shots that essentially I could use, right? Like, they're good enough to pass, like, a very low bar. In my mind anyways, this first step of compiling an edit is really just going out, finding those shots that you could see yourself potentially using. There are definitely some I left out and at a glance, so I'm looking at the day one string outs, and if I go to day one here, you can see all these shots that have this red bar in them are shots that are being used in the edit. They are currently in the timeline, that portion of the shot. So you can see there are definitely some shots in here where I just did not use at all, because I was like, this shot, it does look like a pretty nice establishing shot, this particular one, but like with this guy just kind of sitting here looking at the camera, everything's a little disjointed. You have kind of a lot of movement. It's not super clear. I don't know. And I had some other wide shots that I used. So all that to say that, be selective, but don't be overly selective. Like, oh, this isn't a perfect shot. I'm not necessarily looking for only perfect shots. While you could do it that way, and it would potentially save you a little bit of time. Part of the thing is too, I just realized how many not perfect shots I got. I'm like, all right, I gotta have some kind of footage here, surely. So you can just kind of see at a glance, like, the percentage of footage that I incorporated and didn't incorporate. You can see I trimmed off the beginning and ends of some of these. So yeah, so I did that for day one, did that for day two here. I think I got all the way through. Oh no, I have not got through all the way through day two. So I'm going to start with that. Start by finishing day two. So where we're at so far, let me come over to day two here, the folder. Day two was just going through. We started by visiting Arlington National Cemetery. So this is where the footage kind of starts. It was just a walking tour. Yeah, I don't mind the vignette on that. That really was a bummer. So walking around, I did get kind of an interview here. So that's what this longer thing is here. An interview with one of the dads that was on the trip. So as you can see, I'm kind of trying to do the walking and talking style interview. So frame-wise, it's not going to be fantastic, unfortunately, but luckily the audio's good. So I can always put some B-roll over it or under it, and of course I'm not going to use probably 70 or more percent, 80% of this interview. So I think it'll be fine. So yeah, right now, let's see, where did I leave off? This is some footage of Henness. 039. So yeah, this is the last shot that I added in. So I'm going to just pick up where I left off basically and then move on to day three. I'm going to start with this clip here and just go through here and just try to find some good usable shots. So hopefully you'll see a little bit of my thought process and that kind of thing. So as you can see, I did drop like my basic color correction, I should say, not even a color grade onto here. And what I'm going to have to do, because I realize this is actually not, I don't think anyways, this is the final look I want. But what I did is I copied pasted this from this shot, which was the first shot that I found that I was like, I just want to see how this looks in a color grade, because I had the sky here with the clouds. And I just liked the shot of the group, and you got the Howard University, just iconic central building right there. And I just wanted to see how this looks. But as you can tell, he's got a bright red shirt on, and then there's also this bright teal right here that he had on. And so I actually, and the green also was just a bit strong, so I actually just desaturated quite a bit of this particular shot. And unfortunately, carrying that over to these shots, you can see it just looks a little dull. I mean, the contrast is there, and it's definitely a little overexposed here. But there's actually not a lot of saturation in these. And although it's probably a good thing for some of these brighter colors, like this same red he was wearing here in these shorts or whatever, I'm probably going to have to go and make some adjustments to get some of that back. Because I don't want it to feel like too dreary. I want it to feel pretty bright, pretty vibrant overall, like the edit. And even though it's overcast, you want it to have a sense of, I think, interest and that kind of thing. So yeah, just perusing through some of the shots I did get here. These are the types of things like I try to go for when filming this stuff, because it's just anything you can do to make it look just a little bit visually more interesting is definitely something I've taken to heart. And I try to incorporate when I'm shooting now. And of course the editing hopefully will also reflect that. So this was a pretty cool moment as well. After getting to the cemetery and just walking through the first part of it, you actually get to walk up to this mausoleum area. There's all these steps you can stand on. It's roped off, but you can actually watch the changing of the guard ceremony. So this is pretty incredible to see. This was definitely one of the highlights of the trip for me, just in terms of how it felt watching it. It's definitely something that I could see, being a little bit younger, being a little tougher to appreciate. But the crazy thing is that there is somebody here every 30 minutes. They rotate, so this person who's in charge will walk back and forth a few times. It's very ceremonious. I don't know what the correct word would be there, but ritualistic, I guess. It's like very specific how they do it, of course. But the crazy thing is there is somebody there every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's somebody there. And our tour guide, who was on this trip, informed us of a little bit of that too. Gave us some more backstory about the color guard there. And they noted that, or she noted that they don't, like the lifestyle they have to embrace to be able to get that position to be a guard in that line of work. They have to go like 6 months without consuming any alcohol or watching TV. They can only talk with like certain people over a long period of time. Like there is a real level of commitment of shedding yourself of luxury and pleasure that you actually have to go through to have that position. So the fact that these people have that level of dedication just for the sake of guarding this one particular, I don't exactly remember what this area is, but they're basically there as a guard force. And she even told a story about a hurricane that was coming through DC, and they were told, "Hey, time to evacuate, or you're fine to evacuate," basically, because there is going to be a windstorm coming through. And even then, they said, "No, we have a duty to protect this place, and so we're gonna stay here." So, that was just incredible to hear that they put that level of duty. Above all else, so above their own safety. So, yeah. So this is, so this, again, we're going to kind of pick up from there. I'm going to be scrubbing through some of this footage and just looking for some good shots here. So far, I like this part, like this whole part where it's just blurry and, the only thing in focus is her in the foreground here. I don't really think works all that well. Right about here, though, I think I could start using this. So of course it doesn't really look like much, and I probably wouldn't use a lot of that because except for maybe just filler. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just come over here to my speed editor, hit append, and and then we're going to just repeat that process. It's definitely a balance because you want to show. So I probably won't use that because the subject isn't super clear. There's just not really anything positive about that shot. This one is kind of the opposite. The subject's pretty clear. Wait for myself to reposition here. I do have that vignette, but I'll punch it on the image if I have to. Okay, so I'm going to append there. I could also be doing this in the cut page, going through this. In fact, maybe I'll start that just so we can see how it looks. And I can actually transition between the source and the timeline here. And so if I hit the source button, you can see how it changes everything. This is just a good quick tip for doing this exact part of the work of scrubbing through and finding your footage. So let me find where I left off here. And the cool thing about this is what will actually happen, you can see now all of these clips down here are, what all of these lines represent are all of the clips in this bin. All the different clips are just stacked one after another. And what I'm trying to do is, okay, there we go. So what it's supposed to do is, what it's supposed to do is, okay, this is good enough. There we go. So this is what I was hoping for. So now if I just keep scrolling, it'll just keep going through all of the clips. This is what you really want, because for one, it shows you a real-time update of your actual progress in scrubbing through all the footage. But it also means you don't have to keep clicking off to the side to find the next clip in the sequence when you're doing this. So I just added that one clip, this clip. So now do I want this same clip of Maurice? So this is kind of cool because it shows like him sort of blurred out in the foreground with the color guard guy in the background. I kind of like that whole clip actually. Got that little nice gesture there. So I'm going to actually set my out point here because this is the end of the clip, and then I'm going to scroll backwards here. And I think I'm going to just start it right here, like right where the guard is coming across. You can see one of the moms down below. And then I can just hit append, and it'll just automatically add it to the end of that timeline. So I'm going to just keep going through and doing that for all of these clips. This clip I really like too. I just like the shot, you know. And if nothing else, hopefully this, hopefully the shots do enough justice to this video. So I like that little transition. A little bit longer, you know, might be a little stale of a shot, but I think this really just showcases probably end it there. I never know. I could use any segment of that. Really, the point of this is so that when I am building the edit, I can come to this timeline to grab chunks and sections of B-roll rather than going to the media pool and scrubbing through and looking for shots. Like now I just know everything in this timeline I could pull from, and I shouldn't have to do any I shouldn't have to look at something and be like, no, I don't really want that. Like everything I see I should be able to use. So that's why I take out like these little bit of jitters at the beginning. You know, instead of using the whole clip, I'll take a little bit of time to find some good shots. This is the actual thing that they're protecting or guarding. You know, it's a memorial. And although you can't read it here, maybe if I do some nice color correcting, I'll be able to correct that. So this is just a nice solo shot. So I'll probably end it right there. Append. Scroll ahead. See, this is a cool like teaching moment I got on camera. I think like this is one of the biggest things we wanted to try to capture was, you know, the adults on the trip kind of like, see this, like you see how important and significant this is. And so I think it's a good shot there. Probably use, I think all of that could be used. Here's just an interesting shot I think I got. Try to get a little bit of foreground. Fix my exposure here. Keep wobbling around. I want to try to find where there's some stableness here. Right here I think is good. Just let him walk out of frame. And then I got up before it out, penned, and we're just cruising at this point. So I was trying to get a nice wide like establishing shot of the whole area here, and hopefully I did go back to zoomed out because I kind of liked how that looked, showing off that building in the background. Kind of important. Yeah, right there. Of course, by this time a different school, I think this was like a 4-H program or something, they had come in, and they were just they filled up the space. We'll say that they filled pretty much all of it, and you're supposed to be very, very quiet and very reserved during this. Like it was pretty quiet there. So I can actually turn the sound back on now. Go back to the edit page. Let me bring this up. Back to the cut page. So you can hear it's just the sound of the wind essentially. And of course a plane flying overhead, but other than that, I mean, it's silent as the grave. It's the kind of the idea. You know, this is supposed to be a very, very somber affair, and we're not necessarily honoring anyone here, but the idea is to be, you know, just respectful of the men who are here protecting this. This memorial site. So this is kind of a cool shot. Somebody's cell phone kind of in the foreground. Shows a lot of visual interest. You hear the audio here. So this is going to be a longer clip because I actually wanted to record the entire changing of the guard ceremony. So this is how they actually formally swap out. It's not like one guy just like stretches. He's like, oh, I'm done. Next, get up there. It's like they actually have this whole ritualistic thing where they that they go through to actually change out who's on duty for that next 30 minutes. And seeing how they do this really makes sense why they do it in 30-minute increments, because honestly, to be that sharp, laser focused for that long would be extremely tough. I mean, these guys are just standing and staring straight and just walking this line back and forth in a very dignified, very specific manner, without doing anything else. It's kind of just like the bounties, at the that you hear about at the royal palaces and stuff like that, who just aren't allowed to move, that kind of thing. It's cool to know we have that in America too somewhere. So this is one of those where I'll probably use this whole clip because I don't want to try to decide at this point like which part of this might be the nicest to use. And sure, there's going to be some shaky moments in there I'll probably avoid. And you can see how, like, especially when I'm kind of doing a sped up like that, like how robotic their movements are. It's kind of one of those things that's just incredible to witness. It's just like something you typically see at a military funeral, So out and append, and that just added that whole clip to my timeline. So now we're good. So now we go here. So now we're in a different scene.
I mean, being a soldier is a very hard job, but it's also a job that costs lives, not just their lives. So like witnessing.
So now what we can hear here is this girl, Akila is her name, actually talking about, like, sharing her thoughts about the trip. And this was a portion, you can't really tell now because it's so zoomed in, but this was a part where we had all the kids kind of sitting around after watching that and just kind of talking about, giving us a thought update. Like, this is really the meat of, like, what I think was the significance of, like, this is really like the A roll, if there was any, right? Like, the B roll is kind of just everybody out enjoying themselves. But these moments here were the real A roll that we really wanted to make sure we got. And so I'm probably going to include all of these and just refer back to them. And so this clip, I'm actually probably just going to grab the entire thing and put it in the timeline. And so that was kind of me trying to capture the actual question Vance was asking these kids to reflect on. Like, think about discipline in your life. What does that mean? What does that look like? Again, like, trying to think in terms of, like, okay, this is the type of stuff that, like, even if we don't get any super profound answers, it would be great for people watching this video of you guys' experience to see, right? They want to see that you took some time to think about what discipline means after watching how disciplined these soldiers are, that kind of thing. We're trying to connect the dots. And so I might just include that as well. I'm going to go back to source here. And this is kind of one of the bummers just from a creative standpoint of being able to share this trip. Like, ideally, I would have loved to have some better audio on him. I would have loved to just make sure that we were capturing that as good as possible for this exact kind of thing. And I did have the microphone with me, and you'll see we actually did end up passing it around to all the kids when they took a turn to talk. But So in that case, I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. Him asking the question, I'm not sure if it's really necessary. I'll probably just start with this.
Effort is what you want to achieve, and then to have like the right morals to do so. Also, yeah.
Anybody else? What is discipline to you? What does discipline mean to you?
Discipline. Discipline means like a very like strong sense of character. Like, yep.
Okay, so that's something. So I kind of like this. Obviously, the bell's chiming, and this is before I thought to start passing around the microphone. You will see. We'll do it here in a minute.
But you know, what does discipline mean to you?
Discipline. Discipline.
I'm gonna probably start where he says discipline.
Discipline means like a very strong sense of character.
Dominic,
Yeah, what does it mean?
give me an example of how you will be disciplined in efforts of trying to achieve your goals.
Okay, so I'm not gonna be able to hear him at this point. So I'm actually just gonna set my out point after this guy Bez finishes talking. And I'm gonna hit append on that. And then what I'm gonna do is just scroll ahead until I got to where the microphone comes in. Because I know I started passing it around here at one, oh, there we go. Okay, so he has it now. Okay, and now I can see just visually, like this clip is about this long. So instead of listening to the whole thing, I'm just gonna kind of assume, because I do know like we just interviewed kids straight up for this entire time. So I'm gonna actually just set my out point like right here. Same here. So this, I'm actually gonna approach a little bit differently once I get all this footage in here. One from Keldon here.
Thing about other people supporting you is nice, but the reality is
So this is nice because he actually spoke up here, so the audio picked it up really well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to set my out point there. So as you can see, I have these 3 clips selected, pretty much the entirety of all of them. And then I'm just going to hit append there. And it'll put in all 3 of those clips into the timeline now. You can see it just did that with these 3 here. So now, because I know that that audio file was going to be part of this, I'm going to go back to the edit page where I think this will be a little bit easier. And I'm going to go up to my audio folder, and I can see here, this is the most recent clip that I used, which was this clip here. I'm guessing, yeah, 70245. Yeah, so this clip I think would have been the next one. Okay, so this does sound like the audio that goes with it. Of course, I don't know for sure, but what I'm going to try to do here, hopefully, is see where this lines up with one of these 3 clips. And then
We are at Howard University.
okay, so that's clearly not it. So, okay, that's good to know. And I have to be kind of careful because these, I did audio recording on 2 of the different DJI mics. You know, the kit, it comes with 2 microphones and then the receiver. and I used both of them kind of interchangeably, just based on like battery life and just using them both up. So these might not be in perfect order. Like it does look like the numbers do go up one at a time, 18, 19, 20, 21, and so forth, backwards and forwards. But I know that there were a couple points where it like skips a number, or like right here, 13, 14, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think where it says 13, 14, I didn't format these between each day. I pretty much just left them on there because they record an ungodly amount of audio, each of them. You could record forever on these things and they wouldn't run out of space. So just, to keep things safe, I just didn't end up formatting them. But I did use, especially between two microphones, I mean, you're going to have plenty. And I wanted to just record on board the microphone itself. I didn't want to bother with feeding it into the camera, and with 32-bit float you don't have to worry about it being too quiet or anything, thankfully, because as you can see right here, it's way too quiet. And so right here where it sort of spikes, it looks like I might have to okay, I don't even know what those are, but anyways, hopefully these all align. So I'm going to move this over here just because I don't want it to accidentally get shifted over. And I'm going to just try to auto align clips based on waveform. And I'm going to use track number 1, hit sync, see if it finds it. And it did. So that's really sick. Bring that back. And now, so this probably won't be on there, but hopefully this clip is, because there was also some people talking in this one. Okay, so auto align clips. So now I've made these both the same, start at the same time. So even if this bottom clip moves, which it should once I go to align these, I can realign it with the first clip easily. So just like that. So as you can see, it's aligned with this clip now, but what I need to do is just slide this over, and now these are perfectly aligned. And this will just reflect the amount of time it took for me to stop and hit recording again between two different recording sessions. So, and so as you can see, even though they're talking pretty quiet, I should be able to bring this up here, and I can always apply some noise things to it.
I usually procrastinate and get my work done later. So what I would do is usually stop getting distracted, hanging out with friends or watching a show, just to achieve what I want to do. Cool.
So pretty good little audio take, unfortunately. I mean, it's kind of tough to tell, but they were all sitting on these steps, and it was I was up on this sort of ledge, and there was not really a way for me to get down in front of her in a easy manner, unfortunately. So I wasn't going to be able to get a clean shot. Gotta address a couple things real quick. All right, so yeah, I just wanted to bring up the audio just to make sure things were working.
It's kind of like how she was saying how the guards for their first 6 months they don't watch TV and stuff. So it's having a discipline and knowing what you gotta do to follow through with what you're saying.
So pretty good. And she talks a little bit quieter, so I'll probably end up cutting this audio here and boosting it a little bit more as the time comes. And it looks like after that, I'm just scrubbing through. It doesn't look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I just. Yep. What's up?
Okay, so not really a great answer there, but I think we could probably use this.
But like,
Have just a little mini conversation about discipline and what it is and what it means. I think there's going to be little moments in here I could grab from and make sure to highlight. And then Vance had a little thing right here at the end,
And
which is good. And then, yeah, so there we are. We are at that point now. Okay, so we're just going to pretty much keep going through. This is just one little pause I wanted to take for these moments where I know we recorded some with audio. But now we can go back to the day 2 bin. Find where we left off, which was right here. I'm going to go back to the cut page here, and we're going to just go back to our old routine here. I'm going to hit the source button. And now we have this shot. So this is us leaving. We pretty much headed out from there. This is a little shaky for my liking. I mean, even playing this back at normal speed, it's just, while walking, it's just so tough to get rid of the jitters, especially with the camera being so light, which is great because it saves me a lot of energy and soreness, but it makes the shots not look so great, unfortunately. That's just the reality. So, okay, this is a good one. I was going to say, this last shot, kind of questionable. I mean, it's not really, I don't think it really does justice to what I was trying to get, but this shot I think means a little bit more. It's cool. You can see the Capitol building up here, and you can see the Washington Monument, like in the same shot with the graves in the foreground. And these trees, I think, really give it that, like, once you go there, I think you kind of know, but I didn't really have any idea that, like, I guess I had an idea, but it really sank in that, like, this entire area of of Virginia, Maryland, like this whole area is basically just a big swamp. Like that is the what do you call it? Like a tundra, not ecosystem, but there's a term for it. Just like the specific type of place that it is, the type of weather, the climate, I don't know, there's a term. But yeah, this really accentuates it more than anything else. I mean, the humidity is one thing, you definitely feel the humidity, but like just looking out over this, it's like, oh yeah, this is like pretty much swamp territory. But I think this picture does do a good amount of justice, like. And if you think about just shooting in general in terms of like photography, like taking pictures and just really focusing on composition and what you include in your shot, what you don't include, where you place things in the shot, like that I think will really help make the overall video at the end better, because then you don't have to rely as much on fancy creative editing. Like the more you can rely on your images to do the heavy lifting of keeping people interested, the easier in some ways the editing can be, I think. Like I really like to think that my goal is to be able to use some of these shots that I'm getting for as long as possible, like as few cuts as possible. If I'm putting in a lot of cuts, it either means that I'm doing it because I want the video to be very upbeat and engaging, like kind of like Juneteenth and some of these other recap videos are. But for stuff like this, like I really want the visuals to sink in, like this is what it looked like while we were there, this is what we saw, this is how it felt, this is, a real shot from the area. So you can see that almost looks like a pretty natural cut that you might actually see in the final documentary. Okay, so that shot, not really great. This shot, again, I tried to document people walking. When you're all the way zoomed out, it's definitely doable. but I just think this is not that great. The other thing, of course, I'm trying to do as we're doing all this is do social media. So I was also running the phone and like posting to the story and taking pictures on there as well. So combination of doing social media, pictures and video, as well as like camera, photos and video. There's just always, oh, look at that shot of the plane just flying across. That's cool. I'm gonna snag that just in case. No, of course it's shaky right there. Might be a little dark, but I think this is a usable shot. That plane is just... You can always count on Keldon. He was there in the camera to give it the little... I could put together probably like a hyper edit of just all the moments he did that to the camera.
History of Washington, D.C. They are famous for cooking chili dog, hot dogs, hamburgers, french fries. They have vegan burgers.
And click this.
So actually, this wasn't even me filming right here. This was, I gave my camera to one of the kids just to have him do it. I mean, sometimes it's easier that way, just to get some shots of the place. Okay, done with that. When I thought this was me filming, I thought I was actually trying to get some of her filming or her audio, which I thought would have been really cool to have, because she just did a lot of narrating, you know, like a tour guide on the tour bus. Like out your left, you'll see da 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 da, and out your right, you'll see da da da. She was really well informed, really experienced, and knew a lot about all of these different places, as well as some of the back story or back history or whatever. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, again, just with the setup I had, I just wasn't able to capture a lot of her audio very clearly. And I actually asked her at one point if it'd be all right if I just mic'd her up, just gave her one of those lav mics to clip on, and that way I could just not have to worry about it, and just make sure I was just recording everything she was saying for the day. But she wasn't comfortable with that, unfortunately. So I pretty much just was able to get what I got, and that was it. But this next location we went to for lunch, I think there's going to be some golden footage here. So this was a very historic place in DC, in this one specific district, where I think we got a lot of good stuff, but I want to grab some of this footage real quick. I'm actually going to grab like this entire clip here. So obviously I might not use all that, but this is one of the kids just filming. You can see he's just trying to learn how to use a camera. And who knows, I mean, even this kind of stuff right here, like, that just looks kind of weird, and like obviously looks like they didn't know they were recording and just pointing at the ground. And of course the person watching this will think that this was like probably the professional video person filming this, so it might look even worse. But it's something like I could totally see using as like a transitionary piece, like, you know, just like kind of documentary style feeling, like the camera's moving a little bit. It's not quite clear yet. Like all the shots aren't perfectly clear.
Hey, what do you broke the camera. It wasn't me.
Especially with that audio, like you broke the camera. I don't know. I'm gonna keep that. I'm just gonna append it and put it in there, and then so now we go to Ben's Chili Bowl, Chili Dog. Ben's Chili Dog, is that what it's called? I know I got pictures of the outside of the building. I hope I got Ben's Chili Bowl right. This place is incredible. Just the historic legacy behind this place. They actually played a little video. There's like a ton of famous people that have been there, and you'll see all over their walls in here. I got some shots of them. All the famous historic people that have visited this place because of how historic it is. And one of the things that stands out most about this place is, yeah, I mean, you can just see, well, these two, obviously, that's not a picture of them there, but while the riots were happening here, yeah, I mean, you're just seeing, while the riots were happening in DC, the race riots I'm pretty sure it was in the Martin Luther King era, the civil rights movement, this one place was actually sanctioned to be left like off limits to the rioters. I mean, apparently they honored it because this was like one of the places, the only places that was left open, the businesses that was left open during the riots. And what was crazy about it is it actually served both protesters but also police officers and during the riot, which is a testament to obviously a lot of things, but you know, that's just something that would probably be unheard of, you know, in today's time. And the fact that it's still here, it's still standing, still holding to the standard of willing to serve anyone and everyone, you know, that's really the essence of it. Just any business like this that has not only a history in food but also just like a philosophy. It was founded by a husband and a wife. He does a little bit of talking about it here, so this is one of the lead managers there. And then a little bit later we actually see, I might not have got any footage of it, but I definitely got some photos of the son of the actual owners, or the founders, I mean. The son come out and visit with us for a bit. So it was just cool, like family owned, but also again just something that's so significant in its food. Of course, was incredible, but its philosophy as well. Like that's just something you don't really see often. And Obama actually, fun fact about this place, President Obama, when he was first inaugurated, this was actually the next place he went after he was inaugurated for lunch or something. And they have footage, and there was a little news clip of him going and getting a chili dog from this place as soon as, and I think that's a picture of him. That was a picture of him on the wall right here. I could be wrong. But yeah, he bought a meal here and went and ate, and yeah, just the fact that you know, he acknowledged the historical significance of this place, and he was here in this building. It's incredible. Really small space too, but they were super willing and able to accommodate us. We had this whole back room for our entire group of 30. So just an incredible spot. I mean, I would definitely go back there again. So yeah, and now we are just finding our establishing shots. So nothing great about that. So there's the photo of Obama. I don't know who these other people are, unfortunately. Not a great shot there. So this one's I think decent. So maybe I'll append that. scroll here so I can get back a little bit faster. So I filmed like this entire video. This is the video they play for new people coming in that really explains the history of Ben's and all the people that have been there. Okay, that's a much better shot. I'm gonna go back to jog here. Elvis Presley. Not really crazy about this. This is a pretty good one, I guess. I'll pen that there. So this is probably one where I'll use the entire interview. I'll just append that because I don't know at this point anything where there's people talking. Like I just like to use it. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it kind of thing. And who knows, I might end up using it. Same with this video. Yeah, I think same thing with this. I don't think I recorded the entire video. Yeah, okay, good, because I basically would have been copyright infringement, but we got enough of it there. So now he went around and he actually gave some gifts out. He did like a pop quiz trivia thing and was giving some gifts out to people who knew the answers to some of the questions that they brought up in the video. Is pretty cool to see.
Do you know? Did you catch?
That's kind of cool. I think I'll probably end it there. The whole month, date, and year thing, didn't really get a clear answer on it, and I just wanted to get a couple shots of him handing out the bags or whatever. I think that's plenty. It's a good shot here of everyone eating. Trying to adjust my exposure like an idiot. Actually kind of like that. Kind of cool. I want to get some shots of everybody eating.
What'd you get?
Probably in hindsight should have got more shots of everyone eating. Let me just append that. Show off what she got. And now we cut to Howard University. So now, so this looks a lot like the shot that I had in there earlier, but this one actually is a little bit different. But looking at this, it actually looks pretty stable. Apparently there's sometimes where I don't have an issue keeping the camera still while walking. Granted, I wasn't walking as fast; it was pretty slow, but I think I could use that. So here was the shot that I used. So I'm gonna actually just ignore this for now. Okay, so I'm gonna use that whole clip. This is like their pledge that they do sometimes. So
First, welcome to Washington, D.C., and more specifically, welcome to Howard University. I left home in Southern California to come to Howard for 4 years, about 30 years ago. I did graduate in less than 30 years. I fell in love with the school, worked at the school, graduated from law school, and I'm staying in D.C. The advance reached out and said that they were wanted to have a tour. Super excited about it. What I think about Howard is 25 years ago. So I got some guys who are current Howard students. Be sure to ask questions. Be sure to share what you've learned thus far, and have a great time. Welcome to Howard, and I'll turn it over and let you guys introduce yourself.
use that. Something good there. The source here, I like to see where I'm at in things. Source.
Very immersed on campus. I chose Howard. My 3 top options were to run track.
Okay, so I'm gonna start where he says I chose Howard.
I chose Howard. My 3 top options were to run track at Trail University, run track at Temple, or just attend Howard University if I didn't get offered here. I chose here because they were really good with scholarship money. I'm not going to track anymore, and I'm going to just focus on my studies. My first year, I know everybody's interested in science, but my first year I was in the arts program. I did deep research here on campus, so essentially just looking at bacteria around campus. I'm currently interning with Carson.
Okay, so I'm gonna end it right before I cut that off there. Right there. Obviously this little bit I don't need. This little bit, not that great of a shot until right about here. Even that wasn't that great. It's a nice wide shot here. Wait until I hold the camera still maybe. Maybe there's some good audio here. Let me just listen to this.
He went to the Howard Dental School as well. A little more history. My grandparents got married in that church right there.
That's kind of cool.
He went to the Howard Dental School as well. A little more history. My grandparents got married in that church right there. It's closed now, but they got married there. And then my uncles were born actually at Howard Hospital. So I'm really immersed on that.
So all this is good. So Dominic, this guy right here, he was one of the people that actually chose Howard University as his topic. So in those kid interviews that I was looking at earlier, they all picked their own topic on this trip to study. Some of them picked Arlington National Cemetery, some of them picked the museum, some of them picked the school, the Capitol building, that kind of thing. So he was one of the people that picked this, so I wanted to make sure I got some B-roll of him, and actually later in here I actually did get kind of an interview thing with him, like a walk and talk sort of interview, so we'll use that as well. But I want to make sure I include as many shots of him as I can for this. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all that. Hit the out and append. I'm going to use that and the last clip. They were both, I think, good. Blurry, 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 blurry. There we go. It's actually kind of a good cut there because you can see Bez, this guy here on the right. It's this shot, and then it's like a clean cut to him on the other side. Might add a little bit of continuity, but Let's just try that. So this is good. Just general shots of like the parents and kids like listening and engaging and just enjoying it. Plus the shot. I mean, you know, I'm just so excited to go in and color grade this and just see how this shot looks like when it's looking nice. Like there's some of these shots that are just like chef's kiss, even if the content of what's being said isn't anything incredible. It was so loud right in this moment, like all the audio is going to be washed. Although with the new vocal isolation AI that's in DaVinci, we're going to actually put that to the test with this clip, see what we can get out of it. I'm making a mental note of that now, because there's probably some good little snippets that he's using, but I just really want to test out how good this stuff actually is. I bet it's good. I bet it's... I also remember this being so hot, dude. I was just standing. It was so humid and hot that day. It was insane. Yeah, well, for one word about the camera overheating, I mean, I'm recording all this at 4K as well. So this clip, I don't think adds really anything major. Exposure's wrong.
And also, you guys heard about the Soul Food Thursday. That's a big thing. It's Thursday. That's a big thing. Line usually, especially the first couple weeks of campus, all the freshmen are still trying to get acclimated. The line, I don't know, my freshman, what time the line was outside the building. They also have Punch Out, which is like...
So this is a really good shot. As far as what he's saying, so at this point they're just, as you can kind of tell, they're just giving him a tour of the place. So nothing, you know, nothing super major or profound, but I think just showing snippets of this to, again, people who this is intended for, this video, it would be cool to see, like, they got a proper tour, they got exposed to some good information, they got familiarized with the campus, that kind of thing. Maybe they learned some cool facts.
You have meetings in there with your sororities or fraternities or organizations also.
And also,
Try this shot here.
you guys probably heard about it, the Soul Food Thursday. That's a big thing. Line usually is insane, especially the first like couple weeks of campus, all the freshmen are still trying to get acclimated. The line, I don't know, my first year, what time the line was outside the building. They also have Punch Out, which is like, I would say fast food. They have pasta, Vietnamese station, American food, and you can just like $9 for that as well. But yeah, Blackbird, great food.
So I think mostly it's just a good shot. So I'll include that in there. He's mostly just talking about the food. Okay, here we go. We got an interview. So I'm going to start right here where the clip starts, because I may or may not include my audio of actually asking this question at the beginning. I probably won't, but I'd like to have it just in case.
Where are we right now? And then do like an update.
We are at Howard University, and I'm looking around, and it looks very historical. You can see like how, like, you can see the historical significance behind it, and how it came up, and there's like different.
So this is where I will also go back to the edit.
What's something you remember about it? Like a fact you learned before coming to
Chadwick Boseman, I think Chadwick Boseman went to school here.
Yeah. Okay. And then what is something like you're excited to see here?
I'm excited to see like.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like I'm excited to see like a different.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what's a question you want to ask at some point?
Well,
Is there anything that's like pressing in your mind?
no.
No. You'll know when you see it?
Yeah.
Like what's that or what's that or what's that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna hold you to that. You gotta ask some kind of question at some point.
Okay.
All right, we'll get there.
Okay, cool. So I'm constantly adjusting my exposure. I don't know. Part of me wants to be like very avant-garde with this and kind of like show off some of these moments of like the lens filter and like me adjusting it, shit like that, like make it look like it was kind of just thrown together. But then the other part of me is like just stick to the fundamentals first. I don't know. I think there is a way to make it work, but it's probably more work than I would want to do. So I'm gonna just end it where she kind of stops talking.
Okay. All right, we'll get there.
So I'm gonna set my out point, hit append, and we are cruising. So now I can see the end. The end is within sight here. And for the rest of this, I think it's just going to be a lot of... So yeah, just watching it like this, even, like, you can kind of see, like, oh, I could see this being, like, this exactly how the documentary sort of looks or comes together. Like, these shots just kind of edit themselves almost, if that makes sense. Like, you just kind of throw this in here, show a little bit of continuity. So obviously I want to use the shot of when we're first walking in. I think it's pretty, you know, this is a historic place, and this is where I think, like, I tend to stick to this rule, like I was talking about earlier, as much as I can, of just lingering on the shots and just leaving them, letting them last longer whenever you can. Like, don't always feel like things have to move along, because especially for something like this where you really want the visual weight to sink in a little bit more, I think you know, the whole idea of cutting fast and all that, of course there's a time and a place for it, but I think generally, like, that shouldn't be the point of video. That shouldn't be to get to the end, or life in general, if you want to go all the way out. I think, you know, take some time sometimes. Stop and smell the roses, enjoy things, enjoy the picture for what it is. Don't feel super eager to get to the next cut. Of course, this loud squeaking and screeching sound is not going to be part of the final thing, so I want to make this a pleasurable viewing experience for everyone, but you know, I want to showcase, like, this building. So there's some of these things that, like that particular sequence, maybe just right to maybe this would be cool, but because you can't really see the information on the plaque, it kind of makes it feel like a wasted shot, or like, what are we looking at? It's kind of out of focus. So I don't know if I'll end up using that. This shot I think is pretty good. It's pretty usable. Let me go ahead and out that and append that. The shot I think we'll skip, and then this part of us walking, I think it's kind of weird seeing the stuff with, like, the tape over it. It looks like it's just, I don't know, it almost looks like they weren't prepared to have any tourists over that week or whatever. Like, you know, like the furniture when you go over to their house and it still has the plastic over it, it's like, oh, you weren't expecting anyone, I could see. So it's kind of not really great to spike the camera, but in fact, yeah, I liked this shot, but until I saw somebody looking right at the camera, unless you want to do it for, like, comedic effect, I don't think it really works. This is really cool. So I'm gonna add the endpoint to this. Ugh, man. And I'm gonna get an extra hand on it here. Buzz through this stuff. So I think that whole shot's cool. Go to the next here. I think this kind of works. Okay. Shot right here maybe. And even if I don't use it, like, in the exact, like, even if I don't use these shots in the exact order I'm laying them out right now, it's really just like, oh, I like that shot. That's pretty pleasing to watch. I think, like, that's kind of the goal for me. Because I could end up using them, you know, at the very beginning in, like, a montage, maybe even, like, something like that, where it shows that's actually exactly where my mind went when I saw that. She's asking. Wife sending me pictures of the fucking pallets at Costco. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And see, that's again kind of just a nice shot. So right here, okay, actually what I forgot to do from earlier was go back. I'm just gonna actually add this first and then just do them both at the same time. But as you're about to see, we're doing another interview clip here, and I did that one interview earlier with Tatum, that girl, earlier at the same Howard University thing. So I need to go back and find the audio, which are these purple things here. So I color-coded the audio files to just make it easier for it to stand out for me in this exact situation. So I just need to go back and find that. Let me fucking ingest some water real quick, get rehydrated. Holy. Might have to grab some some snack here. Quality grade, premium, super extra large. Yeah, they're definitely not super extra large. I'm thinking that would be like Mr. Peanut, like this, like some shit. I would not say that. I mean, they're just peanuts at the end of the day. I mean, they are definitely a little bit bigger than I suppose your average peanut, but it's Costco. Everything is super extra large there. What do you expect? All right. Don't mind. All right. So I'm gonna add that whole interview. Out append. Go back to jog. Back to edit. Back to audio. I can see where I left off. I can hear where she started talking about Howard here. Yeah. And so now I can find, I think it was this clip here. And it looks like it was. Look at me. I'll move these over here just a little bit, and then I'm gonna just right click, same thing, auto align, based on waveform sync. No, huh? Okay, that's a problem. Am I sure this is right?
Yeah. Okay. And then what?
Wow, that actually sounds like it's almost perfectly lined up. Not almost perfectly, but pretty damn close. You can see what I'm doing at this point, just lining up these waveforms manually. Sometimes it's just like that, where it just does not sync up properly, for whatever damn reason, you know. But that's why we do this. So I'm gonna just save all that for now. So move this stuff back over here. I just like to put this little bit of a gap between it just to help it stand out, like help them separate it from the B-roll even more. Just makes it a little easier for me. And then same thing here, should be the very next clip. Looks like it is. Let's see if I have any issues. It might not be. I might have recorded like an extra. Okay, but I can hear Dominic talking in that, so do this. Auto-align clips based on waveform. And sometimes it just, yeah, for whatever reason. This sounds like we're actually indoors, so. I think there's something more like this.
This is the only one that like kind of caught my attention. I feel like I would honestly go to Howard. Probably. I heard they have a law school. I don't know if the law school is great. I haven't really looked into that, but I want to go to law school eventually. My dream law school is probably Columbia, but yeah, it's mad expensive. Yeah, it's just really expensive out there. Oh really? Yeah. It's mad expensive. It's like 80K a year.
Okay, so now I have to. So to do this manually, I mean, sometimes bringing up that volume works actually, so let me just start with that. It's probably an issue with this clip because there's so much noise, it just can't. Even though it can isolate the voice with vocal isolation, it can't do it enough to align the clips. So what I'm looking for now are the spikes wherever they're the most distinct, and as you can see, there's not a lot of distinct ones in this clip. So I'm gonna have to just work off of this clip.
This is the only one that like kind of caught my attention.
So this, right where he says this, I'm gonna listen for that now in this clip. I'm gonna solo that track instead.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty close, look at that.
Why you picked Howard as your
So it's very not noticeable because I kind of set it at the same, I was sort of talking at the
Howard as your
so now I'm gonna,
yeah. Yeah. What for? Do you know like what you want to?
I heard they have a law school. I don't know if the law school is great. I haven't really looked into that, but I want to go to law school eventually.
Yeah.
so it sounds pretty close, but just a skosh off.
Dream law school is probably Columbia, but yeah, it's mad expensive.
So see, and now I'm gonna solo this again.
Yeah, it's just really expensive out there.
And you can hear just how much more clear the audio is on that track. So 396, and now I'm just wanting to know if I recorded any video here because it might be worth having now that I'm seeing it like this. First, I'm just gonna clip this to the end. So rather than clipping this to the beginning, I want to go back and look and be like, okay, did I actually record some kind of video here? Because even if he wasn't talking to the camera, might be worth having. 395, so it would have been this clip. So it would have been like these two clips. It actually probably would have been this right here. But as you can see, it's just me standing behind him. I think I probably handed him the microphone and hit record. I was like, hey, let's get some shots when we get out there. But I'm just going to leave it like this for now. Just listening to it here to see. Okay. Alright. Alright. I've heard enough. Go back here, and we're just gonna start again. We throw a lot of parties, was what he just said, so I'm like, let's start right after that. Kind of a cool shot. I love those kind of shots, like just like they're moving the opposite direction of the camera, but like you're revealing something about it. Like they're moving through the frame, but you're kind of revealing more about the environment, like as they sort of walk through. You might have noticed a couple of those that I did where I either kept the camera still and let them sort of pass through. I'm a big fan of those shots. Like it's just cool to see buildings that look like this, like in America. You know, this feels so European, like just having this kind of architecture. Like there's tiny windows, bro. Like imagine if a modern architect put windows that small on the side of a building, they'd get fucking laughed out of schools. They would get fucking shunned. But for my purposes, make some great footage, so. Append. So we have another interview, so this was another part of campus here. I'm gonna use that whole thing, look at that, look at me, I'm so good at doing interviews, except it looks like I actually stopped it somewhere around here. That's when the footage stops looking good. Looks like I'm filming it on a fucking 12mm camera or something. That barely works. So I'm just gonna scrub ahead until I see.
Like specifically?
No, I kind of just
Want to get to know it? Cool. And questions you're thinking of having answered? Or like you'd like to ask? Not yet. Okay.
Okay, so I do remember this now. Like it looks like I did keep kind of asking her some questions like as the time went on. Even though I wasn't filming her talking directly because of how we were walking. So let me just grab this, bring the volume up here, see if it makes a difference. It may very well not do anything, but this should be the clip. This is the next audio, in the lineup, and this is the next time I recorded audio with somebody. So let's just try that, and look at that. We got it. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that like it is, and I'll come back and revisit that. So we're back to day 2 now. We're getting there. And I think after this, after I get through the day 2, instead of going through day 3, what I'm going to focus my next chunk of time on is thinking about the big picture edit, the entire edit, and starting to maybe build that out and assemble it. Just to basically get started on it. And then, I can always come back and find the day 3 string outs once I get to that point in the edit, but I really do need to start putting it together and conceptualizing it and building it out at this point. So, first, real quick, okay, I'm glad I got a lot of interviews. This is nice. This is refreshing to see. I'm going to hit the quick bathroom break, and I will be right back. Okay, we are back. That's yeah, it's a little too long, but I'll cut that part out of the edit. All right, so as I was kind of saying before before I took off, my next portion of this is going to be, I think once I get through this day 2, the day 2 string outs, getting all these shots that I want in there. My next thing is going to be, okay, so it looks like I kind of tried to get an interview here as well, real quick. But my next objective, to finish my thought, is going to be to really start building out the edit, to really go in and start thinking about how I want it to start, and starting to just kind of put some of the actual pieces of the edit in there, just to get over that initial hump. Like, starting it really is the hardest part sometimes. That's kind of what helps me. That's kind of why doing this helps me out, because doing it in this way where I'm starting with string outs and starting with just sorting the footage kind of thing, it just helps me like kind of start to build an idea just by looking at the footage of how the entire edit will come together. And so having this shot in there, it looks like I need to find some audio for that, so let me do that real quick. At this point, I'm probably just going to, okay, so that was definitely the clip where that matches with this, because he dropped it in that clip as well. So I'm gonna auto align here, sync, cross my fingers, it works, look at that, la-di-da, bring this back. I'm just gonna bring that volume all the way up until, it gets to a good point.
Just because the diaspora of students may be black, I thought that HBCU is considered historically black, not just by the diaspora of the students, but also by the person that founded it.
Yeah.
The university.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I got a couple of interviews there. So again, maybe we won't use all that footage. It wasn't necessarily the best, but having the audio is definitely key. I think they said some good stuff that I could probably snip out and pull in. So going to now move on to the next shot from this day, and at this point I'm just gonna fly through these. I can see I'm pretty much at the end here, so it's just really this to here. And I know here at the end, some of these are going to be, there was a lot of Vans sort of talking to them on the street. We were in front of this historic site, and so Vans kind of had a chance to talk with them, chat with the kids, and really more of a heart-to-heart sort of moment about history and that kind of thing, the significance of historical figures. So I want to use a good amount of that.
Any idea?
Okay, looks like he didn't talk at all.
And it goes a long way down. Even, high school, middle school, or whatever grade, just showing that you care, they really does. It's not okay.
Sounded like he said something kind of important there. So I think I'm going to use that. This is a longer one. This is one of the instances where I wanted to capture everything he was saying. He was giving them I think a more serious talk about the school and expectations and just college in general. Bummer, because this doesn't really look like, I guess we'll say, the more appealing part of the school. The ceiling panel's missing and shit, so who knows, but it does also help kind of add to that historic sort of feeling of it. So I don't need to listen to this part as much. I'm mostly just making sure there's no parts of the footage that are bad, because who knows which of these I'm going to want to use. Okay, I'm going to append that whole thing. Same thing here, probably going to keep this whole clip.
Scholarship. So I know they do have scholarship. So I know they do have scholarship.
Some cool, I think, tidbits there about being a D1 athlete out of school. Okay, so now we're at a new location altogether, Hypercut here. So this is another thing, like, you know, try not to have regrets. I know that's kind of a strong word, but I think too strong of a word sometimes, but you know, it's good to have them, I would say, just to be able to learn from them. And for me, I definitely learned, like, I have to think more about getting, like, these establishing / departing shots, like good opening and closing shots, more often. Well, I don't think it's super important, and I don't think, like, I think there are easy ways to make this edit work, without necessarily showing us leaving Howard University, because overall I don't see this as being, like, I don't want to spend a whole huge chunk of time on Howard University, or any location for that matter. This is going to be, in my mind at least, a pretty quick, like, transition between things, just because, you know, I was a solo person filming this, you know, very minimal gear. Like, I think in a certain sense this should feel a little bit more like a vlog, just hopefully a little bit better shot than a typical vlog, at least in my mind. But I think to be able to do like a full scale like documentary, to make it really genuinely feel like a story you're progressing through, it would definitely make sense to have more of those general principles covered, those foundations, like establishing shots, like exiting shots, or things like that, things that make it feel a little bit more like a narrative. Although, again, maybe, you know, I don't think it's going to hinder it at this point, but just something for me to keep in mind, because this was the last shot of the day that I got. I didn't get any like final conclusive like statements about the place, or even just like nice wide shots of the place, or us getting on the bus and leaving, like even something little like that. Like it's just one of those things that couldn't hurt to have, and so I need to focus on that more. So this next place we're at, I think I'm going to use this whole clip, because this is, again, just kind of what I consider like A-roll. So kind of like with these kids' interviews here, I didn't really cut anything out of them. I just sort of dragged the entire thing in, because at this point I'm not trying to decide what I am and am not going to use. That'll come later. And I also know for this point this isn't a clip where I used the external audio to record anything. This was kind of just one of those in the moment sort of inspired, like, hey, out on the street, let's stop and have a chat sort of thing. So I didn't really want to like slow down the pace of what everybody was feeling and thinking and make them feel like obliged to talk into a microphone. It's just one of these things, like filming, that you don't really think about. But, you know, whatever.
What would it be like to live back then versus now? Like the two periods. What would it be
It's Dr. King. We have a national holiday honoring his legacy.
Okay. Don't really need a lot of Susan.
Civil rights and repeat that message. He's the only
Kind of a good standard shot. I think I'm gonna append that real quick. come back and get this other shot of Vance, because again, dude, just like from a filming perspective, I mean, bro, just having that f2.8. And I just like the shot. A little biased, of course, but then hearing her talking, not the most important part. Okay, so don't need any of that.
Farming, didn't get educated till 18. He found when Black History Month comes in your school, you make sure you say Dr. Carter G. Woodson, because it's
Carter G. Woodson, that's the guy we were talking about. So this place we were standing in front of was either his business or a place that he actually lived, this man, Carter G. Woodson, who I'm failing to forget his exact story here, but what he did, but Vance did a good job explaining who this guy was and why he's historically significant. So this is another one where I'll probably use this entire thing. Okay, not the best shot, unfortunately.
Let's talk about it so we don't have to talk about a escape road, like a road, like let's talk about it so we don't have to talk about it. Like your question, do you think we have harder today or back then? Their resilience back then, it shows who we are and that actually our so I think we have harder today. Like we're even there to only be taught certain things about Black history or to competitive. That's why we'll get back to that. In the part to overcome everything.
Alright, I'm sure there's some good stuff in there. Skibbity.
I don't want to mess this up. I'm going to give you the premise of it, but I don't want to mess it up. But basically, he says that, but I don't want to mess it up. But basically, he says of it, but I don't want to mess it up. But basically, he says that then, in order to do like a restaurant, he said that Black man could
So audio here not super significant, but maybe this is. So here I'm, I was obviously trying to get a lot of shots of the speaker. And I never knew what kind of things like that would be important that he'd be saying would be stuff I would actually use for the edit, but
so this gives you this idea that they were thinking of themselves as less than. So, but that, taking that and then going, look, that's not, what this is kind of that real hard example of like, that's what y'all going through right now. Like, we deserve the front door.
One thing that Vance said is other people spend a lot of time on. One thing to understand, and the people that sort of do this know this, is that if you want to, history is a source of where a culture and people claim part of their identity, they claim their pride, they claim what they're supposed to represent. One of the easiest ways to wipe out a culture is to make them independent, is to destroy the record of their history, and to great sense of accomplishment in a society. So that's why history is so important. So when someone tells you that Black history is not important, what they're telling you is that basic, your level of contribution is something that they don't care about. History is passed down. So when someone tells you that, realize that's
was good. There's some good stuff in there. Kind of going back and forth between actually listening to the audio and not, kind of just based on instinct or time or whatever. What I was hoping for is I had some shots of the kids actually.
We always talk about it's about history, what he was just saying. No? You guys remember the symbol we always talk No? You guys remember the symbol we always talk about? It's about history, what he was just saying. Y'all remember the symbol? We always talk about that one. Y'all remember that Lupa? Yeah. There you go, yeah. The symbol of the goose, the bird, with his feet forward and his body forward and his head looking back and grabbing the egg on his tail. In order to understand and be purposeful going into the future, you must understand your past. So, finish it up. Remember that. That's what we always talk about. Don't forget grace. Stand more up. All right.
Okay. So we got something there. Okay, well, that concludes day 2. All the footage that I could potentially use from it. So that definitely helps. And yeah, so like I said, now at this point, I think I'm going to go through and start really building out this edit. But trying to decide what I want to do for this live stream. How long have we been live for? Is there a way to know that? So like I said, now at this point, I think I'm going to go through and start really building out this edit. But trying to decide what I want to do. Man, I'm just now listening to the live stream. It sounds so reverby. 2 hours ago. It doesn't really say how long. Oh yeah, a little over 2 hours. Okay. That's not bad, but I think just to keep the algorithm happy, I'm going to call the live stream there, and I'll pick this back up soon, and we'll dive through some more and see just a little bit more under the hood of how I go about doing some of these documentary style edits. So thank you guys for watching, for tuning in. If you're watching this in the future, even then, thank you, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. Later.